and welcome back to the channel.
In this video, we talk about the story behind our song, When We Were Nations.
I'm Mark.
I'm Justin.
And we're My Loving Tiger.
We started this band 17 years ago. Now we're back.
To revisit, re-record, and re-release every song we've ever written.
So come and join us.
So what is this song about?
This song is about being a Russian soldier during World War II.
Video over.
The end. Thank you. Thank you.
Right. I think in some ways we came about it from two different directions because you were reading a book and I was watching some documentaries.
Yes.
And it was weirdly that we were sort of talking about the same time period, same issues, same people.
I was reading a book called Stalin's Folly by Konstantin Pleshakov. I'm sure that's not how you pronounce his last name, but it dealt with the first 10 days of Germany invading Russia and all the mistakes that Stalin made.
And I was watching a BBC series about World War II from 1997.
From 1997.
Right. Maybe you can find it. It had the subtitle, A Warning from History.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how apropos.
Right. And this was the European perspective. So it's interviewing Europeans from that, like actual people who were in the war. They're being interviewed in their native language, talking about their experience. How did they see it? How do they feel? And some of them had strong feelings now, even, 50 years later. So it was really interesting. And they talked a bit about the same thing where the war on the Eastern Front was much worse than the war on the Western Front.
So between that documentary and the book, we came up with the idea or sort of theme of this song, When We Were Nations. When it comes to the lyrics, I wrote them so each line can be read as if you were the soldier on the front line or if you were Stalin. And that was sort of like the idea behind it.
And I think the title is also playing in this idea of the nation versus the individual.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm almost 100% sure you came up with the title. Yeah.
Because people always talk about, is America the president? Or is the president separate from America, Americans?
I took it as the nation is at war.
Right.
And the people are fighting it. That was why I did the two separate...
Two interpretations.
Yeah. The first line of the song is, I carry everything I own with me. So then the idea was, from the soldier's perspective, it's just all of your equipment and that's all you got and you're just out there with nothing else.
Right.
And then from Stalin's point of view, he just needs himself. That's all he needs. He's just got himself. He's the most important person and he doesn't need anything else.
Right.
The next line then is, I've never been a strong one for trusting.
That's true of Stalin.
Yeah. So from the soldier's point of view, it's not trusting the orders that are being given to him just because the orders that Stalin was issuing were so unbelievable. Just go out to the front lines, but don't engage or provoke them unless you are engaged. And then everyone was like, well, what does that mean? Because Stalin was so paranoid about him starting a war. He thought Germany was trying to provoke him into making some sort of move that would then start a war because they had a non-aggression pact.
Right.
And so the soldiers would get these orders and they're like, so I just sit here and then people shoot at me, but I don't shoot back because I don't want to start a war. So that was the idea of the not trusting thing. Then from Stalin's point of view, he had spies and he had his generals all telling him Germany is going to invade us. It's going to happen. They had a German troop who defected and came over to the Russians and was next week they're invading. And Stalin was just no, Germany will not break the non-aggression pact. Also, they don't want to fight a war on two fronts. That's how they lost World War I.
Stalin was also known to not trust anybody.
No.
Yeah.
So then the third line of the verse is, I tend to break things, everything I'm touching. So then this was the soldiers were so ill-equipped and all of the Russian, the guns and the cannons and the tanks and everything was so run down. Also, they're running messages via cable line. They're not even using radios. And so the cable lines are breaking or they were sabotaged. And so it's just this idea of anything you grab, anything you go to do, and it's just broke. Then the Stalin part of that line is just everything he touches fails. He's issuing all these commands and none of it is working. Within 10 days, the Germans are 350 miles into Russia. And so just anything he touches doesn't work. Then the final line of the chorus is, so this is what they mean by conflicted. which from the soldier's point of view is what we talked about earlier in the video, like the idea of when we were nations, like the nation has started a war, but you, the soldier, have to fight it.
Right.
So it's the idea of being conflicted of like, I don't really want to be involved in this. I don't want to go out unprepared to this battle. But then at the same time, you are the soldier for the nation. So you have that sort of like conflicted feeling.
Right.
And then from Stalin's point of view, it's sort of that, what we had touched on earlier about like the non-aggression pact, like, I don't want to get sucked into this, you know, me starting a war with Germany because they sent a plane, they're flying planes over and doing reconnaissance. And, you know, at this point, like Stalin's still sending them like raw materials and like all sorts of things. And so he's like conflicted and just like not being able to make a decision at all. So then we move into the chorus. The first line of the chorus is, it looks like I've lost everything. The soldier is just fighting with nothing, has got nothing, is not winning.
Doesn't believe in his country anymore. Doesn't believe in this plan.
Leadership.
Right.
Right. And then for Stalin, he's just losing everything in that he's losing millions of soldiers. He's losing all his planes. He's losing all his tanks. And he's just losing in general.
He's losing his political position. Yeah.
Then the next line is, this couldn't be a bigger relief. Which is the idea of the soldiers just like, I'm over this. I'm glad we're losing. If I don't die, hopefully I can just like lay down and this is over. And it's sort of like hopelessness.
Right.
Creeps in. And then with Stalin, it's sort of like Germany then declares war on Russia. So then he's just like,
finally,
I didn't start that.
Yep.
You know, so he breathes the sigh of relief in that he did not provoke the war. Then the next line is, it seems that all of my cannons are rusting. Which is just, again, we touched on before, like all the soldiers' equipment is just in disrepair. Their tanks are in disrepair. Their planes are in disrepair. And, you know, same thing with Stalin. He knows he's putting pilots into planes that he knows cannot fly far enough. Like he's putting them in tanks that he knows cannot drive far enough. Or some of them can't even shoot. He's just barking the orders out and just putting all these people out there.
Yeah.
And then we get to the last line of the chorus, which is, I am comfortable with conceding even though you're retreating.
I think that was a specific thing about the towns, right? Because there was an issue where they were giving up towns even though the Russians or the Germans were pulling back.
The Germans were pulling back and they were still giving up towns.
Yeah.
And then just from like the soldiers' perspective, it's just like, I don't care what's going on. Like I'll give up. 10 million people have died.
Yep.
And then from Stalin's thing, this was kind of like a joke, like a jab at Stalin. Like, you know, he's so inept that even as the Germans are retreating, he would just concede victory anyway. That is the end of the story. And I will say, usually at this point in the video, you say, you know, I can think about this on a second level of like, maybe this song is about, you know, not having the ability to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
But we don't really have a comment on this one.
Other people have heard the song and heard that in it. You know, they heard girl, guy, they're in a fight, my weapons, my defenses are down, you know, I don't care anymore. You know, so I think that just tells you like the human condition can play on so many levels, you know, Stalin, Russia, soldier, girlfriend, boyfriend, you know, it doesn't matter.
You know, we always say like, you can interpret the song however you want.
Right.
But this one is a really funny one because it's like so, between the both of us, it's so like strictly historical.
Yeah.
And so when people tell us that sort of stuff, this one is the one that like makes me laugh the most.
That's the funniest, for sure.
So that's the story behind When We Were Nations.
Comment below and let us know what you think this song is about.